After a diver went out of his way to save a humpback whale, he never expected the way the animal would thank him. That night, a lone humpback whale had been swimming near the shore of an American city. At first, it moved calmly through the water. But with limited visibility in the dark, the whale didn't notice the dangers ahead. Out of nowhere, it got tangled in a thick rope. The animal started to panic. It twisted and turned, trying to break free, but nothing worked. Hours passed, and the whale stayed trapped, waiting and struggling, hoping for help. The next morning, when a group headed out on the water, none of them guessed one of their own would become a hero. James Mosquito, a seasoned diver, had just joined the crew for one of their outings. Early that day, the team was alerted to some strange activity offshore. Details were vague, but they were told it involved some kind of animal. Curious and concerned, they jumped on one of their quickest boats and sped toward the area. About 7 miles off the coast of San Francisco, they spotted something moving in the water. It was a whale. Its head bobbed above the waves, and it seemed to be watching them, unsure whether they were a threat or help. The team soon realized the whale was badly tangled in a dozen crab traps. These traps had been dropped the day before and filled up overnight. Together, they weighed close to 3,000 pounds, or around 1,360 kilograms. That weight held the whale down like a giant anchor. Unlike fish, whales can't stay underwater. They're mammals, which means they need to surface often to breathe. Though this one was still able to get air now and then, it was clearly exhausted. The hours of being stuck had taken a toll. The fact it was still alive was nothing short of incredible. As James watched the whale fight to stay above water, a memory hit him hard. Not long ago, in a different part of the ocean, he'd witnessed something that haunted him to this day. A blue whale shark, helpless and wounded, had been attacked by sharks. James had seen the whole thing, and he never forgot it. Now he realized the danger was just as real. This was shark season, and plenty of predators were known to lurk near the coast. The trapped whale wasn't just stuck, it was injured. That injury was leaking oil into the water, and James knew exactly what that meant. There was an oil slick stretching more than a mile, James explained. Plenty for the white sharks to pick up on. He didn't have to think twice. If the whale was going to survive, he had to act fast. There was only one thing left to do. James knew exactly what he had to do: jump into the water and free the whale. He quickly suited up, slipping into his diving gear with practiced hands. As he got ready, he spoke aloud, sharing what was going through his mind. The other divers listened closely. They trusted James, not just because he was skilled, but because he had a calm, steady way about him. Even under pressure, he stayed focused. James stared into the deep blue water, fully aware that a shark could be nearby. "I wasn't really scared," he said later, "but it was definitely in the back of my mind that something bigger might be out there." Someone else in his position might have frozen up or backed off, but not James. Instead of thinking about what could go wrong, he kept his mind on what could go right, the moment the whale would finally be free. Right before he jumped in, James pulled one of the crew members close and quietly reminded them about the shark risk. He could handle it, but he wasn't sure if everyone else was prepared. So he told them to stay alert, and if a great white did appear, not to look away. According to James, keeping eye contact with a shark can stop it from seeing you as prey. James gave one last scan of the water around the boat. Nothing suspicious yet. Then he looked back at the whale. No movement in the waves around it, just stillness. He pulled his mask on, steady and sure. One moment he was standing with the others, and the next he was in the water. Within minutes, the rest of the divers joined him. They swam toward the humpback, James leading the way. As he got closer, he saw the whale's head holding still above the water. Its eyes were locked on him. The whale wasn't moving much, but James could feel it watching him, unsure of what to expect. There was something in its eyes, tired, sad, and wary. James could sense that this creature knew it was in danger. It was smart enough to understand what was happening, and it wasn't sure if the humans were there to help or hurt. To calm the whale, James slowly reached out and touched its face. He spoke gently. I'm here to help you. I'm not going to hurt you." The rope was dug deep into the whale's skin. No wonder it couldn't escape on its own. The tighter it had pulled, the deeper the ropes had cut. It had rope burns, raw and painful, where the cords had sliced in. Early on, when it first got tangled, the whale must have thrashed in panic. But that only made things worse. The more it fought, the more the traps wrapped around it. By now, it was tangled in so many lines, it was hard to tell where one ended and another began. Some of the traps stretched over a mile long. Feeling the weight of the situation, James took out his knife and began cutting. The rope was thick and layered, but he worked fast and carefully. Each layer he removed brought the whale closer to being free. The other divers did everything they could to support James, being extra careful not to hurt the whale any more than it already was. Every now and then, James would quickly spin around to check for any signs of sharks. He reminded the others to stay sharp, and once he was sure they were alert, he got right back to cutting the tangled ropes. He kept the energy up by encouraging his teammates as they worked together. Finally, the last piece of rope came loose. The moment it snapped free, the whale wasted no time. It dove deep into the water. The divers all let out cheers and congratulated each other. Everything had gone smoothly, and they were relieved and proud. James, especially, had earned their admiration. They talked about how people would soon hear what he'd done. After all, it's not every day a diver saves a massive whale. But the biggest surprise wasn't what James had done, it was what the whale did next. Just moments after being freed, the humpback came back, right to the same spot. And not just that, it swam straight toward James. The rest of the crew had already climbed back into the boat and were watching from above. But James was still in the water. He glanced below and saw the huge shape moving up toward him. His breath caught for a second. The sight was something else, something he'd never forget. As the whale reached the surface, it gently nudged James. Then it circled around him almost playfully, like a pet greeting someone it trusted. For several minutes, the whale swam around James in smooth, slow figure eights. The divers on the boat watched in amazement. None of them had ever seen anything like it. A wild animal, especially one this big, showing that kind of affection? It felt impossible. But it was real. For James, the moment felt like a dream. So real, so powerful. He said later that if he closed his eyes, he could still see that joyful whale, clear as day. What do you think of James's bravery? Let me know in the comments below. If this story inspired you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life moments like this. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.